how's it going? So, um, what we're going to be doing today in the Iowa gardening section is a little bit of work on the landscape here at Lare. We're going through a little bit and just doing some updates. There's some plants that have kind of fizzled out, and we want to update it and make sure that they're looking great. So, the first plant that we're putting in on this patio is going to be one of these limelight hydrangea standards or trees. This is one of my favorite standards just because of its sheer size. It will get about 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. So now that might sound a little scary, but just so you know, you can groom it up a little bit so that it stays a little bit smaller. But that's something that you kind of want to do in the fall so you don't sacrifice your spring blooms. So I've already got the hole dug so that it's a nice short video. You guys don't have to get bored while I dig. But we're going to use a little bit of the biotone starter fertilizer on it in the hole. And I already pulled this out of the can so that I could put the dirt that we're going to get rid of. The roots are really nice on here. It's not root bound by any means. So we're just going to go ahead and put it in the hole. We don't really need to rough up the root ball by any means. So
if they saw that it was really root bound, what should they do in that case?
I would suggest cutting it just a little bit. I would take just like a standard razor blade or knife. Don't go in too deep, but probably just like no more than an inch. Just give it a couple cuts up the side just to cut that roots, and then maybe rough it up a little bit just so that it's not so root bound, and it will start putting out the side shoot roots.
Okay.
So the nice thing about hydrangeas though is they're not really an invasive root plant. So you're not going to see a ton of root binding on them, and that's what makes them great for planting them closer to buildings and foundations because you don't have to worry about them messing with the foundation walls.
Okay.
And who doesn't love that?
Can you tell me a little bit about this hole you dug and how deep and wide and what people should look to do with that?
Yeah, for sure. So the hole that I dug it's at the same level of the root ball on the hydrangea. The reason being is you never want to bury the flare on any tree.
What is the flare? Can we show people?
Yes, so the flare is going to be this knot right here. Now this, it happens on any tree, but this is where the roots start and they kind of flare out. You don't want to bury this because it will actually suffocate your tree and shorten the life of the tree.
Okay.
So, and that's even with mulch. So we want to make sure that this is nice and above the ground so that when we mulch over, it's just going to come up to, right underneath.
Right at that level there?
Yep.
So did you dig your hole over here and you
it.
kind of measured it with this particular
Yes,
pot?
I did.
Okay.
And what I did was I left the hole just a hair more shallow than that root ball so that when I backfill and mulch, it's going to be more of like a mound.
Okay.
So that this does not get buried at all.
Okay, perfect. And then about the same width too as the pot?
It's just a little bit bigger.
Okay.
You don't have to go crazy on the size. I know a lot of people will say the 4 times the size, but when it comes to like some of these shrubs or trees that don't have those invasive root systems, it's going to be okay.
Current research is also indicating that you really don't need to dig that deep too, right? I think that's coming right out of Iowa State Extension Office as well.
So, and I mean, that's a practice that we're kind of putting in play with a lot of the plants that we're putting in. So and to be honest, I've never done that in my own garden. I've never dug the hole huge and fluffed up the soil and amended it or anything because you want it to get acclimated to the native soil as soon as possible.
Yep.
So
awesome.
I did want to touch base on the staking on this tree. So it has this nice bamboo stake that it's nice and tight on. So we'll leave this in for its first year. So we'll take it out probably around midsummer next year.
Okay.
But you want to make sure that the tree is put in with some sort of stake on these standards just so that it's stable. They are not technically supposed to be in tree form. This is something that the humans love to meddle with. So when you put it in the ground, you want to leave that stake in there. And then come next season, we'll kind of assess, how sturdy is that trunk? Has it put on any girth or anything like that? And go from there. We might need to leave it staked a little bit longer. We might have to change the staking system.
If you're in like a windy area, maybe have to keep it staked a little longer than if it's in protected.
Yep. So that's one thing that I would suggest. If you do have a windy spot that you're going to put them in, I would almost change the stake a little bit on it to be more of like a tree system where you have the posts on the outside and then the rubber covered wire to hold it in place. If you're in a windy area, this stake is not going to be strong enough.
Gotcha.
So I would change it to that if you're going to put them in a windy area. However, about a year, maybe two into it being in place, it should be rooted in good enough that you don't need to have them staked at all.
Perfect.
But everyone's going to be different. So if you're putting one of these in your own property and you have questions about it, you can always send us pictures via email, Facebook, text. Bring pictures in and talk to us.
Yep.
If you want some advice on that. But every tree is a little different, so we're just going to, you kind of have to assess it as it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Biotone starter fertilizer. We sell this in the store. It's one of the best products out there for getting things started. The reason being is because it has the mycorrhiza in there, plus the beneficial nutrients and minerals to get a really good jump start on the root system for the plants. So we're going to start using it on our plants as we're planting because we just found that it's a really great product. So, and it's organic. So if you're really lazy like me and you don't want to measure, you just kind of guesstimate. So it says for this size, a 5-gallon tree, about 2 cups. So we're just going to sprinkle a guesstimation of about 2 cups in here.
Yep.
So.
So just kind of a rocky, like granular product there, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it's all organic, so you don't have to worry about it burning the roots of the plant by any means.
Gotcha.
Which, who doesn't love that?
That is great.
So that's, we're going to say that's about 2 cups.
Okay.
Hopefully, we'll see. And then just go ahead and stick the tree in the hole.
Okay.
So you can see it's kind of just a hair above the ground level. I've already got the mulch pulled back, so we'll backfill. And then when you mulch, just kind of bring it up here, and I'll show you guys all that on camera. So.
Okay. So just kind of breaking up that soil as you're putting it in there.
Yeah, you want to get as much of the air out as possible. Now, when it's done and everything's mulched, we're going to give it a really good deep watering just to help the soil settle.
Okay.
And get any of those air pockets out. So, and over time, especially the first couple weeks of the trees being in place, they are going to settle a little bit anyway. So that's another reason that you want to plant it up just a little bit above the ground level.
Okay.
So as it settles, it doesn't get too deep.
It's really important that your tree doesn't get too deep, right?
Yes.
What are some bad things that can happen if it's too deep down in there?
It shortens the life of the tree. That's probably the worst thing.
Yep.
Because it suffocates them out. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to plant a tree, I don't want it to live only a year or two. I want it to live a very long time.
Yes, agreed.
So, especially because they're a lot of work to put in the hole in the ground.
That's right. Beautiful. So if people do see, like after they've planted their tree kind of start to sink down in, should they try and adjust that? Should they try and backfill soil a little bit more if they start to really see pockets or holes develop after they've planted?
If you're seeing it develop that way, I would suggest taking some sort of action as far as whether you lift the tree out if you can and get some more soil in there,
okay.
Or you could make sure that you're saucering the tree a little bit if you can't lift it out, but you want to make sure in any capacity that flare is still exposed.
Okay.
So, and if you need advice on how to do anything like that, that's another thing. You can give us a call, send us pictures, come
yep.
on in. We'll be more than happy to help you make sure that you're making the best decision for your plant.
Yes. It's looking good there. Look at how instant gratification that adds beauty to that spot right there. Love this hydrangea tree.
I am a huge fan of hydrangea standards. I used to think that hydrangeas were like an old-fashioned type of flower, but with all these new varieties and the standards, they've done some really impressive things, and they add multiple seasons of interest in the garden. You don't have to clean them up in the fall. You can leave them up and the flowers will just dry naturally and look great. So
Yes. And they're
that's one of
great
the
for like
benefits.
a small spot. I think we hear more and more from people like, I'm looking for a tree that's, doesn't get that tall, doesn't get that wide, and this is a great option for that.
Oh, definitely. And the nice thing is like as these, because they're standards, you're going to get that hydrangea effect um, for the multiple seasons of interest and such. But it gives you the ability to plant underneath of it as well, so you're not going to lose space in your garden.
Yeah,
So you can
definitely.
really make sure your things are full and you have tons of the colors that you want and everything. So it's great. So I kind of just make sure that I shake the plants a little bit
Okay.
in those holes to help settle anything in. Just
Okay.
an extra thing. You don't have to do that because you're going to water it in, but
Okay.
it also, if it starts to lean a little bit, you can kind of adjust it and
Shake it back into place.
shake it back into place.
It's looking pretty good there, Dustin.
Oh, thanks. I've done this before. So you can kind of see if you want to zoom in, Melissa.
Yeah.
The root ball is just a little bit above the ground on these.
Kind of hard to
And
tell by the video, but it sure
so
is.
you want that to be just a hair up, so as it settles, that flare stays
Yep.
above ground.
Yep. Looks good.
So I'm gonna water it in really quick, and then we'll put the mulch back, and
Okay.
should be good to go.
All right. Perfect.
Under the conveniently placed hose, right? This is probably one of the most crucial steps when you're planting any sort of shrub or tree, is just soaking it really well so that that soil can settle in and get any pockets of water out.
Yes. It's a lot easier to do this now than later down the road. Plus, your plant's going to need that drink right after being planted, right? It's kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
stressful time for your tree to get rehomed.
Definitely. And this is not something that I would really suggest doing when it's 100 degrees outside. We are taking advantage of a little bit of a cooler day today, because it is just that added stress on your tree. But sometimes you got to put them in when you
Yep.
have time. So
Yep. And it just means what? More care for your tree
just a
and
little bit more care, and by
watering.
care I mean you just kind of got to keep an eye on the water situation. So
So you're really flooding that with water and just
yep.
really trying to make sure that that helps settle any air pockets down.
Yep.
You can kind of see how much water he's really going, submerging his hose in there.
Now this isn't how you would water the tree every day.
No, this is just to settle that soil
yep.
in, right?
Yep. So
So almost kind of a moat around where the tree is planted right now.
definitely, and there are the little air pockets in there. So as the water seeps in, it's going to pull that air or the soil into those pockets and fill it in.
Perfect.
So, and it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to happen immediately. So that's why you want to plant it just a little bit above because of the settling aspect. But
Great.
I think that should be good for right now.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit of settling going on.
Settling. So you're going to pull in some of the soil. And if you needed to, you could even pull some soil out of the can that we had in there to start with, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I left it here, and I didn't get rid of it right away, just in case I needed a little bit of extra soil, but I gauged it pretty good, I think.
Yeah, it looks good.
So we'll just put the mulch back. One thing I would probably suggest, I'm a sandal gardener. I don't know about you guys, but making sure you have
Tennis
appropriate
shoes or boots. Although I will admit, I'm a sandal gardener as well. I like to have my toes in the dirt. I don't mind a little mess.
I am on the same page, so
That looks great. So what are some of the benefits of mulching your tree?
it's going to help keep that moisture in there longer.
Okay.
Now, it also will help suppress weeds. You don't want anything like weed-like growing up next to your tree because it's going to steal the nutrients in the water.
Yep.
So the couple benefits is, keeping the moisture in and keeping the unwanted plants out.
Perfect.
And it's pretty, too.
It is pretty. And probably we wouldn't want a huge mulch hill on this either, right? We're
Nope.
trying to really still kind of keep that flare exposed and not have a mound of mulch on it, right? Just
Definitely.
a nice even layer is what you're going for.
Yep.
Okay.
That's something that when I plant trees, especially when I'm at home doing them, I will actually leave this part exposed
Yep.
just for that airflow.
Yep.
So And as you know, you put more and more mulch on as the years go by,
Yep.
it's obviously going to build up. So just make sure that you're keeping that exposed at all times.
Yep.
So there's some
Perfect.
sedum. Oops. So, and I'm just going to do another
Quick
quick
watering on there.
quick water to make sure the
Okay.
mulch is like
Settled
packed down.
in. Would you do any other sort of fertilizer for this tree, or is it pretty much good to go for the next year?
So because we put the biotone starter fertilizer on it, I would not fertilize it until spring.
Okay.
One of the things about hydrangeas is you don't want to fertilize them after, I would say, August 15th, September 1st time, because it promotes too much new growth in the fall and can stunt your plant for the next year
Okay.
and lead to possible tip die off and stuff like that over winter. So they're a plant that you don't want to fertilize in the fall, so I wouldn't add any extra fertilizer, especially because that biotone is so nutrient rich. So,
Gotcha.
but there we go, the first
Okay.
plant for our redesign.
All right.
So-
Well, thanks for showing us.
Anytime. And if you guys have any questions or want to get anything like this in your own garden, just let us know and we're more than happy to help. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Melissa.